Why a minimum wage promotes income inequality and destroys the workforce. Here's why having a minimum wage of any kind is bad, and how it goes against basic economic principles, as well as promoting a lot of things that don't help a society thrive. The argument for a higher minimum wage, $15, $20, $30 an hour, whatever the amount, is that it puts more money in people's pockets so that they can spend. And as we all know, spending is what drives the economy. The more people spend, whether it's on useless stuff or something smart, it helps those businesses thrive, meaning they can hire more workers and so forth and so forth. All that is true, except the part where people spend more and more. First, let's compare a person who makes $30,000 per year with someone who makes $150,000 per year. Aside from their income, they will roughly buy the same stuff. They both will probably need one backpack, one laptop, one bed to sleep in, one set of pillows, and one type of residence, whether a mortgage or a rental. The number of people who spend is actually more important. What an increase in the minimum wage does is decrease the number of employees. Less employees, less number of backpacks, laptops, beds being bought. A coffee shop, for example, usually has 6 full-time employees, each making $10 an hour. In a standard 8-hour shift, that's $480 per day for labor, or $14,400 per month. We'll simplify things and not include payroll and other benefits. That'll just make my point even more pronounced. That coffee shop owner has a budget plan, and keeping expenses steady is key to keeping a business alive. If you don't know that, you probably have never started a business. $480 for labor is something that owner can control. Supplies and other stuff can change depending on the market price. So now let's say a law is passed increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That $480 per day is now $720 per day, or $21,600 per month. That's $7,200 more in overhead, plus, remember, payroll and benefits. In most cases, where a worker is paid minimum wage, that usually entails a low-skilled job, meaning anyone could do that job, so paying someone higher is not going to increase productivity. And if that minimum wage worker does increase productivity, then they should be promoted to manager. That office shop owner has to make up for that $7,200 increase in expenses. So what does she do? She has to fire 2 workers, leaving her with 4 workers being paid $15 an hour in order for her to be where she originally was. Of course, she can always keep those 2 workers and increase her costs, but that will reduce her revenue and income for herself. And for those who have never started a business, it is the owner who sacrifices the most. It is only logical that they benefit the most. But those are moral differences, not economic reasoning. Anyway, let's talk about job creation, but from a different perspective. No, minimum wage doesn't mean an employer will pay you $1 an hour. A minimum wage will be replaced by a market wage system. A highly educated and skilled worker will command a higher salary and make more money. You don't see lawyers or professors making minimum wage, do you? A market wage system will allow for maximum employment while creating a balance between a supply of workers and a demand for them. In times of economic uncertainty, businesses refuse to hire because they can't afford to hire the usual amount of workers. So instead of hiring 1,000 workers at $10 an hour, they can only keep 700 workers at that same amount. That's $2.4 million a month, shrunk down to $1.6 million a month in labor expenses. With a market wage system, that business can still hire 1,000 workers at $7 an hour instead of 700 workers at $10 an hour. More people equals more spending. Each working employee can purchase a laptop, a bed, a residence, and so forth. And of course, it works the other way around as well. If a business needs 500 workers and can only hire 200 workers, they will increase the wages to attract more workers. Another downside of a minimum wage is the interruption of technology. Look at places that are predominantly made up of minimum wage workers: fast food chains, grocery stores, and retail outlets. Fast food chains are slowly replacing cashiers with machines that'll take your order. Grocery stores have self-checkout stations with only 1 employee there to fix any issues. Retail outlets are literally going out of business because of an increase in online stores. A machine doesn't need to take a break. They don't have any personal issues at home. They don't need sexual harassment training. They don't even need a retirement plan. Technology has rendered minimum wage workers' jobs obsolete. So in a market economy, the minimum wage laws are a hindrance for job creation. Even if someone wants to work for less than the minimum, they are forbidden by law. But if you eliminate the minimum wage, employers will hire. Even though a machine has less baggage than a human, there's an upfront cost to purchasing, installing, and occasionally fixing these machines. If that cost is less than hiring an employee, it just makes economic sense for that business to go with the machine. But if that cost is higher than what it takes to hire an employee, then that business will hire more workers. So speaking about family, did you know minimum wage promotes illegal immigration? Remember that South Park episode about people from the future coming back and taking up all the jobs from the residents of South Park? Minimum wage does the exact same thing. Because people who are either in the US illegally or who want to get paid under the table for some reason accept lower than minimum wage work. That puts you at a tough spot for someone who's so accustomed to a set wage. That's where this first world entitlement comes in. If someone from Mexico, for instance, wants to work, they'll do whatever it takes to work. And that's where you should stop complaining about not having a job. If you can't stomach not working for less than the minimum, you're not really taking the whole working thing seriously. And then there's manufacturing in the US. If you're wondering, there's barely any manufacturing in the US. That's because of the minimum wage. Your shoes, your cell, your jeans, your pillows, and almost everything is made overseas. Why? Because it's cheaper. The labor is cheaper. Companies don't have to pay $10 an hour to workers like they do in the US. The minimum wage kills jobs here because it's just too expensive to make anything here. Air Jordan shoes are about $200. It's made overseas. If they were to be made in the US, they'd easily cost around $500. That's because Nike has to pay an American multiples more than their overseas counterpart. And guess what? This helps the consumer. You, me, everybody. You want things to be more affordable, and the market system creates that luxury. Finally, I want to address minimum wage as an artificial number. The average salary for a dentist in LA is $150,000 a year, $120,000 on the low end, and $270,000 on the high end. Jobs that aren't usually minimum wage are based on the market wage system. So if you're afraid abolishing the minimum wage will mean you get paid so low as a dentist it's not worth it, you're dead wrong. A dentist in LA will command at least an amount in the six-figure range, something the market will offer him. That's how it is right now. The same goes for minimum wage workers. Whatever the market will bear, employers will offer an amount appropriate based on need and workers available. The same goes for dentists or any other profession. If LA has 1 million dentists, the average salary for a dentist in LA is going to be much lower. It's all a negotiation. A small coffee shop with 10,000 resumes can only have so many employees. In a market wage system, they can negotiate the wages because they have a bunch of applicants to choose from. Same goes the other way around too. If that coffee shop only gets 2 or 3 resumes and needs to fill 6 spots, they will increase their wages and benefits to attract more applicants. In the end, a minimum wage of any kind, whether it's $10 an hour, $15 an hour, or even $500 an hour, it prevents employers from hiring and it prevents people from getting jobs. Think about it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to my channel. As always, take care of your money.